Alright, I'm making this video once again, and I'm doing this because I have no alternative but to do this. This thing YouTube can't exceed anything past 10 minutes, apparently. Or maybe if you, maybe standard people can't get anything past 10 minutes, or 12 minutes for that matter. But maybe people who have streaming and stuff, they can offer certain benefits. Unfortunately, I do not have that. So as fast as I can, I'm going to make this as fast as I can. So the first thing you need to know, this is X-Men Boad, an alternative style comic book story. I've been doing this before. I started it back in April. Um, Made everything, made the rough sketches. Roughs were done in April. And then the standard sketches started in June and July. So there were 16 of them. And after June ended, the last 10 was done in July. So um, I'll make a quick summary. This is the story of something that's going on within this world and alternative ideas of how to do a comic book. It's not a regular standard comic book format, and the ideas that are going to be within this comic books are mainly based on the story itself. That has nothing to do with the images. The images are okay and everything, and they can get a little complicated and they can look a little silly and stuff. And at the same time, it can look very fluid. But at the same time, I wasn't doing this to make pretty images. I was doing this specifically to tell a story. The story is the main factor here, not the beauty of the artwork. And drawing good art is great and everything, but my main priority here is to make a story. So I want to move this on as fast as I can because there are actually 26 images, and I want to make sure I tell everyone everything's been updated because I had 10 minutes here. So I didn't state it before in past videos, but I'm going to state it now what the story is about. So I'm starting from the first image. The first image on page one. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Each images can be used to put on a portfolio, logo, so on and so forth. A certain image, not every images. I made them that way so that they can be represented to put on images, logos, and so on and so forth. If you're that type of person, you could take something from this comic book and represent something in reality or real life. And at the same time, the story is going to be based on my personal ideas of how I see the world in the comic book world, and how that applies to reality, and certain gadgets, certain inventions that haven't existed yet are going to be applied within this comic world from my own ideas, which I have developed. Maybe it'll help the future in some sort, and maybe it won't, but this is what I'm doing at the moment, an alternative to comic book style art, and alternative and an alternative to comic book style story. So the standard format of comic book will be applied. Certain balances, certain checks will be placed in, will be set in place, and certain foreshadowing will also be done. Certain positioning will also be done. The borderlines within all these sketches aren't exactly the same, but that will also be touched up. Everything will be touched up before the end. The coloring and the shadows will be applied in September and August. And then the last text will be done the first 2 weeks of October, and then bam, it should be done by October. I could do this within 2 months, but it's only me doing all this at the same time: the texting, the coloring, the editing, the shadows, the re-editing, the positioning, the rough sketches, the ideas, the inventions, the story, the characters, the emotions, the moments, the plot, um, the movement of the story, the position, the certain things fit, the other things don't fit, the possibility that this could possibly be something that will be beneficial to someone later on in comic book world or in real life. That's also been factored in. So all these things are happening all at the same time, and I've logged all the stuff done in April, and all the stuff down in April and in May, and I make sure I organized everything specifically before I decided to do it. So the sketches, most of the sketches, roughs started in April, and everything else, the actual sketch after the roughs and the ink were done in June and July. So I'm moving forward right now. I've been talking too much. So the first page of the story, since the main product of this entire art of the art itself is to tell the story, not to create pretty art. So the first page is a story of Hope Summer. She's walking through school, taking care of business, having a regular school day. She moves on. The next image, as you see here, is a representation of what she sees, and she's thinking in her head about the phoenix. This is my version of the Phoenix. Um, the next image is her moving towards a poster board or something and see a reflection of herself in the Phoenix form, in physical form that's hiding behind her. Some kind of a creepy looking thing. She just she then checks the different stuff she has to do for the day, move on. And she then goes to a garden area. She's about to sit down. She's contemplating sitting down, whether she wants to eat or whether she wants to read. She has not sit down yet. She interacts with this person. This person is a friend of hers. They go into class. They move into class. They see a friend there. Blah blah blah. He's not really your friend. He's kind of a weirdo that's into fire. They start having conversations of something in daily life at school. She then decides to write certain things down. She's feeling some type of nostalgia or some type of vibe that she doesn't understand, and she catches a headache. She leaves the class. She reflects on what's going on. Something's possibly happening somewhere within this on the earth or on certain locations. It's not too far from her, but she's feeling uncomfortable. A teacher sees her. Teacher's about to talk to her. She ignores that person. Um, the conversation of the teachers are rather important. It has to do with her future. Move on from that. She goes into the library. She's about to chill in the library. There's going to be a panel right there. And from there, she moves on past that. She's about to exit through the door. She runs into none other than X-23. They have a little discussion. They don't like each other. She kind of shrugs it off right here. And then X-23 laughs and says something behind her back while she's walking through the door. She goes to the parking lot. This is two type of perspective. Um, um, Subject perspective and kind of a God perspective here. So it's two different perspectives playing on at the same time. She goes into a car. She goes with her friends. They go on a little joyride. You know, they go to like a 7-Eleven type location. They sit down, they drink, they have little conversations of things that teenagers do, blah blah blah. Or college people. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to make them yet. Teenagers in college. I think I help them as college students at this point because certain maturities are within the story are required. Um, an explosion happens. There are going to be two panels that happened before this one. She sees it. She's about to fly off, go there. She sees her friends goofing off and playing around. She smiles at their goofing off behavior. She heads out without waiting for them. This character comes through a portal type thing or a flat type immersion type thing or a zoning type of transportation type thing that is instantaneous that leaves an explosion for some reason. I'll always assume time travel has to do with some type of explosion somewhere within reality rather than you just warp in like Star Trek or something. Um, this person's ears is on the front of her head, but that's just a fake, kind of like a camouflage. When the helmet or the mask or the skin of this person is formed back together, everything looks rather human. But through time travel, for whatever reason, the time travel affects the skin, the armor, and everything else. It's part of the story. I'm going to explain it later when the text comes. And then they move on to this section here. She looks on the time travel person looks onto the city down below. She checks everything out. Boom, boom. She takes on form of the person's clothing, but this is her actual face from that world. The edges on her face represent where she's from. She's looking at people buying stuff, giving money, the currency of the world, about to buy food. She decides to replicate with that, buys food, sit down, but someone's looking at her. That person is checking her out, blah blah blah, to see what she's all about. She's not exactly from here. She sees him, blah blah, in her eyes, and at the same time, he starts to sweat because he has this feeling that there's something very ominous about her and extremely dangerous. Someone throws something at her, a freaking building. She jumps out of the way. A combat happens in the area. This person fighting her does not understand her fighting mechanics or DNA, losing greatly, gets knocked the hell out. Her combat mechanics, her DNA, and how to combat her is kind of high tier, so you have to be high tier to fight her. Otherwise, you will lose all the time. She's like kind of beyond Superman type strength, but it's bizarre. It's not like a complete physical thing, more like a void type thing. Um, and then she escapes with Hope Summers. They get onto a train, blah 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 blah. They leave, they escape because they don't want a lot of civilians to get in the way. Best to be safe rather than to cause panic and cause more destruction. And these last three images are representation of things to come. So and this are images of what's next, previews of things to come, so on and so forth. And this is a very intimidating character, not in physical form, but what it represents within this universe and stories to come. It's basically to be on an end all of things in physical form. So that's what that is, and that's the end of this video. I could state some things some more, but at the same time I have to watch for time. It's 10 minutes now. I gotta cut it short. But that's what's going on. That's the updated project of this and what I'm doing at the moment. Coloring will come in August and September, and then the finished product will be done in October. It's only me doing this, and I'm the only one that's been doing this. I asked for help, no one helped, but I'm doing it nonetheless. So that's what I'm doing. Anyone interested in me doing artwork for them, or doing sketch for them, or color rendering for them, or even doing Photoshop or anything, you can hit me up at any time. But that's my personal project I'm doing right now. Explain Boad, an alternative style comic book project. Thank you very much. And I'm out. Obviously, I'm not making money off YouTube. Otherwise, I would make a fancy entrance or fancy outro at the same time. But like I said, I'm not doing that. This is just inform. This is not show that I'm trying to do something to make money off YouTube or anything. This is just a example of what it is I'm doing right now. So that's it. That's everything. Gotta go.